Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Partner Spotlight by Jvology. I'm your host, Krista Inochovsky, and it is my honor and pleasure. It's so fun to get to spotlight some of our incredible Jvology partners, and Libby Adams is here with us today. We're so happy to have you, Libby.
Thank you, Krista. I'm excited to be here.
Good. We met at Jvology Live, was it September, I believe?
Yes.
And, just hit it off right away. You've got incredible work that you're doing. The topic of today that everyone's going to want to stick around for is how to put a positive spin on negative emotion. And I just think that topic is so relevant today more than ever. So we're looking forward to having you really dive in with all of your years of experience and have open up this conversation and maybe look at things a bit differently. So before we dive into that, I just wanted to welcome everyone. Jvology is a community. It is the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. It's a place where solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, consultants, and small business owners come together to really connect, to collaborate, to expand our reach, our mission, our client base, and of course our income. All through collaboration and making really meaningful relationships and great partners. And that's exactly what you are a great example of, Libby. So welcome.
Thank you.
Now tell us, where are you from? Where are you zooming in from today?
I'm actually in Mexico City right now.
Are you?
Yeah, usually I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I'm from Long Beach, California. So I just kind of get around.
Well, that's fun. Fun there for the holiday.
Yeah. Here for the holidays. Mm-hmm.
Good. So, all right, let's dive right on into this.
All right.
I'm going to give you a quick intro because you're well deserving. Libby Adams, Ph.D., founded the International Academy of Self-Knowledge in 1994 and has logged 50,000 hours of one-on-one coaching over 26 years. She's a highly skilled presenter and educator, having taught for many years in the California public school system. Libby is a master practitioner of Neuro-Linguistic-Programming and the developer of Transformational Meditation, which is a spiritual technique she uses to help people transform their limiting beliefs and negative emotions. So we are all in for a treat. This is someone with, as we just said, years of experience, hours of deep work, and can't wait for you to share with us what you have going on today.
Yeah, I have this topic that I want to talk about, and it's a standalone. It can be in a container, and I want to get this material across because it is so useful. Because usually people think that the negative emotions are bad, and let's stuff them, or let's store them, or let's avoid them, right? But the truth is that negative emotions are actually messengers, like the FedEx guy. They're just trying to give us a message, and they're trying to give us two possible messages. Okay. So the negative emotions are the emotional equivalent to physical pain. So if I'm running along and my knee pops and it hurts, the pain tells me to stop.
Yeah.
Right? Something's wrong. It's the same thing with the negative emotions. All they're trying to do is tell us that something's wrong. Now, people aren't trained to interpret what could be wrong, right?
Right.
It's like, well, what's wrong? Now, would you see if I can share my screen? Let's try and share the screen.
It's share screen at the bottom. This is such an interesting way to think about it. Because the physical pain will stop us in our tracks. We were like, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm going to the chiropractor. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to, you instantly react to that. And yet this negative emotion and the mental aspect of feeling bad, we tend to just overlook and keep going and plowing through and not listening to these signs that we're getting.
Exactly. I can't share my screen, but in a minute, I'm going to go over a flow chart. And what I'll do is I'll just hold it up to the, I'll talk about it and I'll just hold it up to the, everybody is going to get a copy of this. So if you can't see it perfectly, that's fine because everybody can print it out.
That's super nice of you. Good. I'm just sharing this since we had to change channels a little bit. I'm getting the stuff. I'm looking down. It's just because I'm sharing our live so more people can see us.
Gotcha. Okay. So when we're saying that the negative emotions are messengers, right? Here's the good news. There are only two messages. The negative emotions only send two possible messages. Either I'm having the negative emotion because I'm thinking something incorrectly. Mm-hmm. And if I would stop thinking it, I won't have that emotion anymore. For example, let's say, Krista, you and I we're sitting on a plane, and then we look across the aisle and this lady's freaking out, right? We're just about to take off and she's freaking out. What do you think she's thinking, Krista?
She's thinking of every possible way she's about to die, that the plane's going to go down, that something terrible is going to happen to her.
Exactly. Who wouldn't freak out if they were thinking that? So they need to stop thinking it. So the negative emotion is saying, case number one, the thought is incorrect, so change it. Okay? So it's inappropriate.
But can everyone change it?
That'll be the second part of mine. Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. If it's like a deep-rooted phobia, then we're going to have to do what's in the second part of my talk with the whole masterclass and what to do, because I'll show everybody a flow chart. Mm-hmm. And at the bottom of the flow chart, it says negative emotions disappear. But then I say, well, what do we do if the negative emotion doesn't disappear? All right, that's a whole other thing of what we're going to do. So this technique probably works about 90% of the time. And so for the other 10%, it's more deep rooted and there's going to have to be a stronger solution. But we'll just start with the easiest, right? I'll give you another example, perfect example, real life example. I was going to pick up my boys. This was like in the early 90s. I was driving my Dodge Mini Caravan going to pick up my boys. And I get in my garage and I notice I'm feeling anxious. Now, generally, I'm not an anxious person. So I noticed it. I'm thinking, dang, I'm anxious. So I asked myself, what would I have to be thinking to feel anxious? That's in the flow chart. That's the first thing you do. So the first thing you do, I'll get it out of a different book. This is a piece of my 28-day course, but like I said, it's a standalone, so we can see it. So I can't quite see, but I'll just so you can see there's a flow chart. You get your own, and at the top it says, "I am feeling," and there's a little box so you identify the feeling. So I'm saying, "Dang, I'm anxious," right? So that's the feeling.
My heart's racing. I'm uncomfortable. I'm getting tense. Like you identify the emotion and how you're physically feeling with that.
Yes, but especially the emotion, because it's actually the emotion that's causing the physical feeling. And then here comes the magic, Krista. So we identify the feeling, right? And then we say, and it's right on this little flow chart. I'll just sort of stop holding it up because I don't think you can't really see it, can you?
We get the idea, but not the word.
The idea. All right. So then you say, what would I have to be thinking to feel anxious? So that's exactly what I did. I'm sitting in my Dodge Mini Caravan. I notice I'm anxious. And then the next step on this flow chart, I say, what would I have to be thinking to feel anxious? And then you answer yourself. It's not, remember our thoughts are mostly unconscious, subconscious, right? But subconscious doesn't mean that it's hidden or, it's like, oh, don't let Libby know why she's anxious. It's just stored in the subconscious mind. And if we ask the question, what? Okay. That is a way to get the information out of our subconscious mind. Like if I said to you, Krista, what color is your car?
Black.
Okay. Well, where was that information 3 seconds before I asked you?
Into my garage.
No, where was that information of black? Where was that before I asked you?
Just sitting in my brain. Something I know, my memory.
In the subconscious portion of your brain.
Okay.
So all kinds of stuff is stored, and all we have to do is say what? Like if I said, Krista, what did you have for dinner last night? What would you tell me?
Salad. So it's the what. It's like what color. Whenever you say what, then the subconscious mind can go in and find what it is.
Yes.
We're going to use the same technique with the emotion. What's causing me to feel this way?
No, we don't do. We say what we want is the thought behind it. What would I have to be thinking? Well, it's on the flow chart, so it makes it easy.
Yes.
I have to be thinking to feel this anxious. And then I answered myself. I said, I'd have to be thinking, I'm late to pick up the boys. They're going to be upset and I can't handle it. Came right out. As I was saying, it's not hidden, right? It was just stored. But when you say what, boop, it popped out. And so then we've got the thought. Now we got to analyze that thought. So I say, is that true? Is that statement true? So then I stop. I say, well, am I late to pick up the boys? I don't know. They take the bus and the bus is late half the time. So I don't know that I'm late. They're going to be upset. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how they're going to feel. Maybe they're playing with their little buddies and they hope I, never come. And I can't handle it. What are they going to do? Dock my pay? Fire me? So then I say, I don't know if I'm late. I don't know if they're going to be upset. And if they are, I can handle it. And right after that, the negative emotion disappears. So it was letting me know I was thinking something that wasn't true. And the minute I said what the truth was, it had done its job. So it left.
I love that.
It's like the FedEx guy, Krista. So the FedEx guy's got a letter for you. He rings the doorbell. He gives you the message of your letter. You sign for it. And he jumps in his truck and he drives away. True?
Mm-hmm. True.
You don't invite him in for lunch. You don't ask him to move into the spare bedroom for 2 years, right?
Please no.
He gives you the message. He jumps in his truck and he drives away. It's the same for the negative emotions. They give you the message, they jump in the truck, and they drive away.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, you're saying it's our choice on whether we decide to invite them in and for it to hang out with us, or we now have this tool that can help us send the driver back down the street and not come in and not engage because we've received the message. Yes. And we can move forward.
Yes, that's exactly right. So remember, there are two possible messages, and I just gave you scenario number one. The thought is incorrect, so change it. Right now, there's another alternate message, and that message is correct action is needed, so take it. So I'm having a negative emotion because there's something I need to do, and I'm not doing it. Or,
all right. I need 30 seconds to answer my door. My kids are outside. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Well, she's answering the door. I'll tell you guys a funny story because I got a care package of some cranberries that I ordered from Amazon.com in Mexico. And I was afraid that he was going to ring the door while I was in this session. And he came about 15 minutes beforehand with I'm looking over at my package of ocean spray cranberries so that I can berries tomorrow. So I'm all set. All right. I'm afraid to, there we go. Okay, you're back. All righty. So the second, did you hear me say that I thought I was going to get a package in the middle of this?
Anything's possible these days, right?
I know. Like, they come into our home office. Okay. So that's the first scenario. The second scenario is correct action is needed, so take it. And what I was saying is we either need to do something and we're not doing it. And the emotion is like to stimulate us. It's like, come on, do this thing. Or the opposite. We're doing something we shouldn't do. And we need to stop it. And that negative, it's like guilt or anxiety will let us know. So I'll give you an alternate example for number two. So let's say we have a college student. And our college student has a midterm. It's Sunday afternoon. Are you still there, Krista? Well, anyway, I can see I'm there. I'll keep going. There she is.
You center screen. That's all. I'll let you more.
All right. I like. Anyway, I like to share the screen with you. So here's our scenario. We have a student. He's got a midterm tomorrow. It's Sunday afternoon. He's been studying all day. He's kind of tired. It's like, I'm going to go out. I need to just take a break, which he does. So he goes down to the pub. His buddy Joe is there, and they're shooting some pool. And so they're shooting the pool and having one beer. And then at the end of the game, Joe says to our student, he says, hey, I'll buy you another round of beer. Let's play another game. And then our student says, yeah. And immediately he starts to feel anxious. So enter our flow chart.
Okay.
He asks himself, what would I have to be thinking to feel so anxious? And then he answers himself. He says, I would have to be thinking that I should go home and study and not have another beer and play more pool. Then we get to the next step on the flow chart. Is that statement true? This time, we get a yes. Yes, that's true. You should. And then we get a menu of things. Okay, so correct action is needed, so take it. So when we were going down our flow chart, the first time it was the thought is incorrect, so change it. This time we go down the other side, it's correct action is needed, so take it. So what does he need to do? What does he need to do, Krista?
He's going to have to change his plan.
Yes.
The uncertainty was a red flag to not stay on that same path, but to change the behavior.
Exactly.
So he feels more comfortable.
Exactly. So he needs to take correct action. Correct action could mean say something to the person or change your behavior or get out of there or let it go. So there's a variety of different kind of correct actions we can take. And so he says to his friend Joe, he says, you know what? Thanks a lot, Joe. I actually need to go home and study. So he leaves, he goes home and studies, and the negative emotion disappears. The anxiety is gone. Why would he feel anxious if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing? The anxiety was only there to stimulate him to go home and do the right thing. So those are the two possible messages of the negative emotions. So it starts off, you identify the emotion, and then you ask yourself, what would I have to be thinking to feel whatever that emotion was? And then you answer yourself, right? And the first one was, I'm late to pick up the boys. They're going to be upset. I can't handle it. In the second one, it was, I need to get home and study, right? And so one was true and one was not true. But at the end, when we get down, we either take the correct action or we restate the statement so that it's true. Either way, at the bottom, the negative emotions disappear. And the flow chart is really clear about just guiding you through the process. The flow chart is a no-brainer. And people are going to get the whole book. It's an ebook called The Positive Purpose of Negative Emotions. And it has a picture of the FedEx guy in there, of the little story that I told, and these examples that I gave, and this flow chart that you can print out. Any questions so far?
Well, I just want to say, Libby, I really, really love this because it is giving people, it frames out that the anxiety, the feelings are temporary. They're coming up, but they're not here to stay. And what I see by working with teens, just as you do, working with all sorts of people for years and years, is too many people identify that I have anxiety. Like they're owning it, like it's here to stay. And until when they start working with processes that will allow them to move through it faster and go, no, I'm feeling anxious, but I don't have to identify that I have anxiety. It's not a thing that's going to stick around all day and ruin, whether it's my work day or the party or whatever I'm trying to do. And so your flow chart that you've created just shows such an easy path to follow to get to the solution of feeling comfortable.
Yes. Now, if we get to the bottom and the negative emotion doesn't disappear. So like the woman on the plane, for example, that likely is not a good fit for this flow chart, right? Because she's got a phobia. That's a really, really strong emotion. These are just for sort of one and done type of things, like the guy's studying, I was going to pick up the kids. But for somebody who has long-standing anxiety or long-standing depression, this would not be the tool for them. The tool for them goes deeper into the subconscious mind of their phobia they have, or a part of them, a part that got created that's just kind of off in left field. And that's what transformational meditation is about, that you were reading in my bio. Oh no, that's my phone, but I'm not going to, somebody's at my door. And so when we have a deep-seated emotion, then this is not going to fix it. So when people sign up, will you be able to put a link in the chat as to where they can sign up, or will we do that later? You got it? You're muted.
Yes, I can type it in, and you can add to afterwards as well. You can add more comments.
Okay.
Do you want me to throw in a link now?
Yeah, go ahead and throw in the link now. Because when people go to that link.
What is it?
What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you throw up the link later?
Okay.
So that it'll be the correct link.
Okay.
All right. So we'll put the link in later. Everybody can check back on that. Okay. So when people go for the link, this is what's going to happen. There'll be a little box on the where you put your email address and your name and all that. And then you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to get this ebook, which will be emailed out, And the second thing is you're going to get a 45-minute masterclass called Introduction to Self-Discovery.
Oh, okay.
And in this masterclass, it will explain why the negative emotion isn't disappearing, because it's not just a surface thing or a situational thing like the two examples I gave. The person is actually, you were kind of alluding to this before, Krista. How much time do we have left?
We have about 8 minutes.
Okay, all right. So what you were alluding to before is like the person identifies with all of that. Like they'll even say, I'm an anxious person, right? And they're owning it. So that gets into like identity. And so in this masterclass, it talks about how people have a basic misunderstanding of their true nature as spiritual beings, and that I'm not my emotions, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not even my body. And it goes into a different, deeper direction, because Einstein said that you can't solve the problem with the same level of mind that created the problem. Now, if it's just a small thing, that's no big deal. But if it's, like I said, if it's a deeper thing, then we've got to go deep, and we have to find this part that has this belief, and then we use a higher mind, some kind of a higher power, God, infinite intelligence, whatever a person calls that. And we're going into a meditation, and we're going to find this part, like the lady who got the phobia. She didn't always have that phobia. Something happened, right? And then a part of her kind of split off, like, oh, flying is dangerous or something like that, right? And from the time this part split off in some kind of irrational way, it cannot be recovered with logic by saying, listen, like, if we say to her, listen, you're going to be okay. The odds of you getting in a car crash are more than our plane's going to crash. It's like, then she's going to say like, yeah, I know, but I'm still freaking out, right?
Exactly. So the logic doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's talking her off the ledge. She can recognize the logic, but the fear is still there. That unrealistic fear or unjustifiable fear is still there. And so it's a different and deeper process that she has to go through.
That's exactly right. And that's just how it is. But what I said is probably 90, maybe even 95% of the time, it's not a big deep-rooted fear or deep-rooted anxiety. And this tool will work. So what I tell people is try it first. And then if you get to the bottom and it didn't disappear, then we've got to do this other technique that I talk about in the masterclass, going deeper and getting a higher mind. I'll give you a really perfect example. That's a short one. I remember it was about 2002, and I had one of my students was a pilot, and he was a United Airlines captain. And he said to me, Libby, I feel like every time I go up in the plane, I'm playing Russian roulette. So he was really, really anxious. That was his thought, right? And when we did this transformational meditation, this is how it works. So he goes into a meditation. His word for higher power was God. So he imagines a picture of whatever God looks like to him, right, in this hand. And in this hand, he makes a picture of the part that says, I feel like every time I go up in the plane, I'm playing Russian roulette. And then I facilitate this process, and I say, is this part aware of God over here? And usually the parts are like, what? It's like, is the part aware? It's like, oh, okay, right. And then I'll ask, does the part trust God? Yes. And then I say, what's God's viewpoint on all that? And God said to him, I'm flying the plane. That part was like, what? And then the hands come together in agreement that God's flying the plane. And that was a one and done, the end of the anxiety about flying the plane.
Wow, that's beautiful. And powerful and fast.
And fast. All that happened was he was believing the wrong thing. Right? And all the talking in the world is like, no, it's not going to happen to you, but the part's like, but it could, So that's when we bring in the higher mind. And what's really interesting is sort of like in the Bible, they're talking about the shepherd, right? When the sheep hear the voice of their master, right? It's so like when this part comes out and God's speaking to it, it's like, what? Wow. Okay. Sign me up for that belief. And when the hands come together, the new belief is accepted.
I love that. From this experience that I have working with people, I see that they have to first be willing to let go of the belief. Sometimes they want to hold on to it because there's attachment there. It's kind of comfortable there, or it's an excuse, or there's a victim mentality. So not to take it off to a different direction, but that part of it is have to be willing to want to let go and to find that new belief, and to not be attached to having anxiety or not being attached to having the negative feelings, and wanting to be empowered to move through them and know that you have the ability, the tools, the control, and then working with someone like you are really able to help them facilitate that with such ease and walk them through it. And it's beautiful when there's that willingness.
Yes. I tell people there are two things when they come to be a student. There are two things that I cannot manufacture. They have to bring with them. Number one is desire. Person have to want to, right? Whatever it is they want to do, it's like, well, you'd have to want to. And number two is what you said, willingness. I can't make somebody be willing. So if they're not willing, like, we're done, right? There's no point. I remember when people would call me up, like I don't know, like 1995 or something. I used to have an office in the World Trade Center back in the day when I had an office. Oh, wow. And somebody wanted to stop smoking. And I said, okay, scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want to stop smoking? And they said, about a 6. I said, call me back when you're at a 10. I can't make them want to do that. So they actually have to be willing. Now, in this transformational meditation, it's really interesting because there are different roles. There's the role of this part that's got the irrational belief. And then there's the role of the higher power. There's the facilitator, but there's also their conscious mind, the chooser. So sometimes the chooser hears a part saying something, or the part going, well, I don't want to change. But then the captain or the conscious mind can say, you're out of here, and just delete the program and have the higher power sort of poof and get rid of it. If it's not willing, but the person is willing, then it's like you just delete the program, like drag it on, put it in the trash off of your desktop, and it's gone. And then the hand is empty. And then I say, bring the empty hand together with God. So whether the part cooperates and comes together or it gets deleted, either way, at the end, the hands are together. And what that means is there's a new belief, new thinking, and therefore new emotions, and therefore new actions.
That's beautiful, Libby. How can people work with you? How do you want them to reach out to you? How can we give people these tools?
So the best way is for when we put that link in the chat, then we'll be in contact. They'll get their free download. they'll get the master class that gives the 45-minute version of what I said. And then if they read that, they go through and they like it, then they'll have my email. At a minimum, let's put my email in.
Absolutely.
Libby at academyofselfknowledge.com. Libby at academyofselfknowledge.com. And then we'll do a 30-minute session. We'll call it Stop the BS, belief systems. We'll do a complimentary 30-minute Stop the BS session. And then they can see if they like it from there. Then there are courses to take where I'm doing transformational meditation and all that. So that's probably a good way to contact me.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hope I got that in there right. If not, we'll switch it out. Such powerful work. And as I mentioned I think it was before we even went on air, that I believe that now more than ever, people are really needing to pay attention to their mental health, to their mental well-being. And even if they never had to address it before, if it was just happening naturally with all of the changes in the world and the circumstances and the distancing and the hard choices that we have to make, and even just the hard choices around Thanksgiving and Christmas of not getting together with family because it becomes too big of a group. And there's just a lot on us, on all of us, all the time right now. And with that, we need to be extra conscious, aware, kind to ourselves and to our mental well-being, and get the support and the encouragement and the tools that we need. And so connecting with Libby, doing that work is a beautiful way to do that, so that we can have the tools to go, oh my gosh, I'm feeling, and I hear this, people say, I'm feeling anxious and or depressed, which I've never felt before. Okay, so here are ways that we can address it right off the bat, ways you can understand it without falling down this path of it really grabbing a hold of you.
And just in closing, Krista, I gave 2 tools. The first tool was mental technology, mental health. And then if it didn't work, we were going to the second tool, which is spiritual technology. So people don't think too much about their spiritual health. But spiritual health coaching, spiritual health education is the entirety of what I do. So that's why I got into the second half of, well, what do we do if the cognitive, the mental isn't working?
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Jvology Partner Spotlight. Appreciate your wisdom and your tools and things that we'll be able to go home and use. Next time we're feeling it coming up, I'm definitely going to use these tools and share them as well.
Thank you for the opportunity. I love talking about this. After 26 years, it never gets boring, Krista.
Oh, that's wonderful. It just shows how in alignment you are with the work that you do. Beautiful. All right. Take care.
Thank you.